Seat her near the kitchen, my aunt whispered. She should know her place. Someone laughed and added, let her hear it. What's she going to do? I froze, fork in hand, realizing this wasn't a joke. My name is Allison Reed, and I'm 34 years old. I work in project coordination for a mid-sized consulting firm, the kind of steady job that keeps things running but doesn't get talked about at family dinners. I've always been the quiet one, dependable but never the loud success story. My siblings got the praise, the attention, the celebration. I was tolerated. I was the one expected to understand when plans changed, when I got left out, when jokes were made at my expense. For years, I tried to belong. I stayed quiet to keep the peace, showed up when I was invited, and swallowed the hurt when I wasn't. I convinced myself that if I just stayed calm and supportive, eventually they'd see me the way I wanted to be seen. But they never did. I wasn't rich or glamorous, and I didn't have the kind of life that turned heads or sparked envy. But I had something they didn't expect. I had a world they knew nothing about, a success I'd built quietly on my own, and the clarity to finally stop begging for a seat at their table. If you've ever felt quietly dismissed by your own family, if you've been the one they underestimate or overlook, this story is for you. Subscribe if you've ever stayed silent just to keep the peace. Drop a comment if you know what it's like to be treated like you don't matter. And click like or hype, because what happened next proved that staying quiet doesn't mean staying powerless. The dinner was at my parents' house, the dining room filled with the warm smell of roasted chicken and garlic bread. My sister was getting married in 2 weeks, and the whole family had gathered to finalize details. Seating charts were spread across the table, place cards lined up, and everyone was laughing and talking over each other. I sat near the end, picking at my food, mostly listening. Then I heard my aunt's voice, low but not low enough. Seat her near the kitchen. She should know her place. My cousin snorted. Let her hear it. What's she going to do? I looked up. They weren't looking at me, but they knew I could hear. My sister laughed, not meanly exactly, but not kindly either. Allison's fine wherever. She's used to it. I set my fork down. Used to what? My aunt waved her hand dismissively. Oh, don't be so sensitive. We're just joking. But they weren't. I could see it in the way they exchanged glances, in the way my brother-in-law-to-be smirked into his wine glass. This wasn't a joke. This was a plan. They were going to seat me at the worst table, use me as a punchline during the speeches, and treat the whole thing like harmless fun. I tried to say something, but my mom cut me off. Allison, it's just one night. Don't make this about you. The table went quiet for a second, then someone changed the subject and the laughter started again. I sat there, invisible and humiliated, and made a decision. I wasn't going to play along anymore. Over the next 2 weeks, things got worse. I was left out of the wedding planning group chat. When I asked about it, my sister said it was a mistake, that she'd add me back, but she never did. Then my mom pulled me aside and said, if you're uncomfortable with the seating, maybe it's better if you don't come. We don't want drama. I stared at her. I haven't caused any drama. She just shrugged and walked away. The groom made a joke at a pre-wedding dinner about my failure phase, the years after college when I was figuring things out and working jobs that didn't impress anyone. People laughed. I didn't. I felt small, embarrassed, and tired of pretending this was okay. But something shifted inside me. The hurt started turning into clarity. I stopped reacting. I stopped defending myself. I just watched. And I realized they were confident I wouldn't fight back because I never had before. They thought I was too afraid, too desperate for their approval, to do anything but take it. They were wrong. What they didn't know was that I'd stopped needing their approval a long time ago. For the past 3 years, I'd been running an anonymous wedding planning blog. It started as a hobby, a way to channel my love for organizing and design into something creative. But it grew. I built a community, partnered with vendors, and became known in the industry under a pen name. Brides reached out to me for advice. Vendors trusted my recommendations. I'd helped plan dozens of weddings, all without my family knowing a single thing about it. At that dinner, my phone kept buzzing with notifications. Emails from clients. Messages from followers. Comments on my latest post. I ignored them all and kept my head down. But the irony wasn't lost on me. They were planning to humiliate me at a wedding I'd helped make possible. The person who saw through everything was my cousin Jenna. She was younger than me, only 28, but she'd always been treated like an outsider too. After the dinner, she texted me. "They're really going to do it, aren't they?" I wrote back, "Yeah." She called me. "You don't have to take this, Allison. You've been bending over backward for them your whole life and they treat you like you're nothing." I didn't argue. She was right. Jenna offered to help. She didn't know exactly what I did for work, but she knew I was good at things people didn't give me credit for. She encouraged me to stop shrinking myself, to stop making excuses for people who didn't deserve them. Meanwhile, my family grew louder and more confident. My sister joked about the surprise they had planned for me at the reception. My brother said it would be hilarious. The wedding day approached, and I felt the tension building in my chest. But I wasn't afraid anymore. I was ready. The wedding was beautiful. The venue was a restored barn with string lights and flowers everywhere, the air thick with the scent of roses and fresh wood. I wore a simple dress and sat where they told me to, at a table near the kitchen with people I didn't know. During the ceremony, I stayed quiet. During dinner, I smiled when I was supposed to. And then the speeches started. My sister's maid of honor went first, then my dad, then my brother. Each one was sweet, funny, and full of inside jokes. Then my brother-in-law stood up. He started talking about family, about how lucky he was to marry into such a great group of people. Then he paused and looked at me. "Of course, not everyone here is great at everything." People laughed. I felt my face get hot. But before he could finish, Jenna stood up from her table. "Actually," she said loudly, "I think we should talk about Allison for a second." The room went quiet. My sister looked confused. Jenna pulled out her phone and projected something onto the screen behind the head table. It was my blog. My anonymous blog. With my most recent post, a feature on the exact florist and caterer my sister had used. Allison Reed, Jenna said, runs one of the most respected wedding planning resources in the state. The vendor who connected you with your florist? Found them through her site. Your caterer? Same thing. My sister's face went white. My brother-in-law sat down. Jenna kept going. "So while you've all been making jokes about her not being successful, she's been quietly helping people build the weddings of their dreams. Including this one." The room was silent. People turned to look at me. I didn't say anything. I just stood up, grabbed my coat, and walked out. I didn't stay for the rest of the reception. I didn't need to. Jenna texted me later saying my family had tried to apologize, that my sister was crying, that my mom was angry at everyone for ruining the night. But I didn't care. I wasn't interested in apologies that only came after I'd been publicly vindicated. I wasn't interested in a seat at a table where I'd always be the punchline. I drove home that night feeling lighter than I had in years. Not because I'd embarrassed them, but because I'd finally stopped chasing their approval. I chose dignity over acceptance. And I realized that the people who truly matter don't make you prove your worth over and over again. They just see it. If you've ever been set up to be embarrassed or minimized by your own family, share your story in the comments. Subscribe to a community that understands quiet strength and refuses to let people dim your light. Click hype to help this story reach others who need it. Thank you for listening. If this story resonated with you, hit like and hype to help it reach more people. Share your experience in the comments. I read them all. You're not alone, and your voice matters here.